2026 Canadian Nationals have come to an end. We have a new teams champion, a new pairs champion, and our reigning back-to-back champion, Megan Slocum, retains her title for the third consecutive year. Let's talk about the results and what else happened that weekend. The 2026 Canadian Nationals took place on May 30th and 31st in Georgetown, Ontario. This was the fourth annual Canadian Nationals, and there were some changes that were discussed in the preview video. And you know what? Let's just go through the weekend. Let's talk about the results, things that went well, things that maybe could have been a little bit better. The focus here will be on the results and the puzzles and other aspects. I'll include some questions that were submitted to me through my Instagram page. But yeah, let's just go over the video. Before I get into it, make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss all the other stuff that's happening on this channel. Yes, we're heading into June and July and the summer months here in Canada, but there's still lots to cover, lots of people to catch up on that I haven't been able to speak to because I've been busy with the World Series and with the Canadian Nationals. But there's so much left to come. There's going to be returning back to the Speed Puzzling 101 lessons for those of you that enjoy those. A lot more guests will be making their appearance. Champions Corner, a lot of Champions Corners are scheduled and being recorded at the moment. So yeah, make sure to click subscribe, follow me on here as well as on my Instagram page, which is in the description below. Throughout this video, I'll be using clips taken from the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association's live streams that took place during the events. To view the entirety of the live streams, click on one of the links below. And many of the photos used in this video were taken by the photographer Cory Haslam. Check out his work on his Instagram page at Cory Haslam Media, and the description is also below. All right, the 2026 Canadian Nationals. This year it took place in a new location inside of a hockey arena. Not quite sure what could be more Canadian than that. It felt a little bit weird walking into a hockey arena and not going in there to play hockey, which I did for decades. But the atmosphere as soon as you walked in, it felt different than the previous years. The community center for the first three Canadian Nationals was good to get started. It's getting bigger now in Canada, so the hockey arena did make sense to change too. But walking in, even though it was a much larger location, didn't feel large in terms of the community sense, but it just felt there's just that different feel that this seems to be a little bit more serious than it was in the previous years. Initial reactions for the venue from myself and from a lot of people that I've spoken to were overwhelmingly positive, which is a good way to start the weekend. I did not attend the social evening that took place the day before the official days started, so I'm not going to comment on any of the social event aspects. From what I hear, it was enjoyable. I prefer to kind of rest the night before any competition. But for a lot of us going in on the Saturday morning, it was the first time experiencing this new venue and trying to take it all in as we walk through those doors. The first thing that stands out is how much larger the puzzling competition area is than what we've had in previous years. That community hall, which is it's a big room, I guess, but it was dwarfed in comparison to what the hockey arena is. And because the rink itself is so long, and coming from that smaller community center the years before, the room felt huge. It's also because the ceilings are very, very high in the arena. There's also the large spectator area that overlooks the competition surface. So it was just a very big, not quite overwhelming room to walk into, but yeah, maybe a little bit overwhelming. Now, I was at the World Championships in Spain. The dome in Spain felt big, but this felt different. The Puzzle Hall in Germany for the World Series, that was a larger room for sure, but because of the lower ceilings, the full size of it wasn't obvious. This rink, again, it felt massive when you walked into it. What I heard from a lot of competitors and what they liked about the rink specifically is the clear separation between the competition floor and where the spectators could be. because of how an ice rink is designed, you're going to have the boards around the rink. Um, and in most cases, there's also going to be the glass as well, so it's fully separated all the way around where the spectators can get to. Add into that, there's designated seating above the competition surface, like I mentioned, overlooking the rink itself. So we'll talk about that in a second. But this meant a significantly less amount of encroachment from potential spectators. In fact, it was impossible. You couldn't just wander onto the competition area and look to see what was happening. You were clearly separated by either the boards and glass or another floor above. Now, what I really liked about the raised seating area, there's a few things. The first is that it gave every spectator a view of essentially everybody uh, on the competition surface. At ground level, if you're on the same level as where the puzzlers are, you're really only going to be able to see the table that's in front of you, maybe one or two others. The overhead seating, you had a bird's eye view of almost all the tables, really. The second thing is it allowed for people to sit and watch. While I love puzzling, I love speed puzzling, and yes, we are, as a collective, we are going much faster than the average puzzler is in the world. It's still not the most exhilarating thing to watch over extended periods of time. Standing there, it's tough to watch. So having that seat, being able to sit beside the person, beside people, talk to people around you, and still look over and see how what the progress is going. It's great, and you can talk at a normal level as well because again, you're separated from the puzzlers. You don't need to whisper and be quiet. You can just talk normally as you oversee everything that is happening. And third is that the seats went all the way down the rink. So it doesn't matter if you were cheering for someone that's in the first, second, third row, great, sit at one end. If you're cheering for somebody that's in the second, third, fourth, fifth, last row, sit down at their end. So you're able to see whoever it is that you really are there to cheer on. If you're just there for the general atmosphere and just to see everybody, sit somewhere in the middle so you can see all the tables around. There's so many benefits to it having it in this rink. And there were no screens in this particular arena because this there's no screens in this arena. Um, so you weren't able to watch the live stream as it was happening, but that didn't really matter because you can see everything that was going on. The live stream, which we'll talk about in a second, that's for the people that aren't in the venue. Here you because you can see pretty much every table, you have a pretty good idea on what the progress is across the entire competition floor. You don't need to hear the commentary of who's getting close, who's not, because you can literally see it. So having a puzzle speed puzzle event in an arena, great idea. Canada, obviously keep doing it. The States, lots of arenas there. That's obviously a possibility for them. The Nordic countries, definitely a lot of rinks in there. Most of Europe, really. There's hockey rinks everywhere. Highly recommend, especially if you have overhead seating. Definitely. Now, to keep going with the venue, it was warm. And a few people mentioned that through my Instagram or to me in person, trying to wonder why it was so warm for a hockey arena. Honestly, I didn't really notice it that much, but the heat was definitely having an impact on others. But it is an ice rink; it should be cold, right? It's not an ice rink anymore. So once the ice is gone, the coldness goes along with that. There are, to the best of my knowledge, there are no air conditioning units inside of ice rinks. That's not what keeps the ice cold. There's refrigeration systems that keep the ice solid, and by association, it keeps the rink itself cold. The smaller a rink is, so very like local rinks that you might have in smaller cities or towns, everything in that rink is very very cold because there's nowhere for any coolness to go. If you're in an arena that sits 20,000 people, then the coldness is going to dissipate as it spreads through that building. It's going to be cold right at ice level, but beyond that, it's going to be a normal temperature. Um, we are now in the last, this took place, it was the last weekend in May, the last 2 days of May, actually. The ice has been melted for the summer. So the refrigeration units are obviously turned off. Again, there's no air conditioning in a room this size. There was still a rink that had ice in the building. Uh, and if you went into that particular rink, yes, it would have been colder. Honestly, some people might have done that to try to cool down a little bit. Um, but regardless, the room, our rink, I guess, our puzzling area, it was warm. Add in a couple thousand people going in and out, doors opening. It was warm that weekend as well. Plus the people puzzling, the electronic equipment, the massive windows, or the glass windows that were letting in natural sunlight. Add all of these in together, it's going to be warm in the room. Now, the outside temperature itself was already 20 degrees Celsius, which may not seem like much in comparison to some other countries in the world. But when there's no wind, no clouds, that 20 degree sun in southern Ontario, Canada, when it's directly on you, that is hot. Now, there's no such thing as a perfect venue because everyone's going to have a slightly different opinion. There's going to have a slightly different experience depending on where you're seated in the room, what time of the day your competition takes place. But if it works for the majority, then it works. As a side note, I'm referring to things like temperature, space, lights, things like that. Accessibility issues are a different thing and should apply to everyone whenever possible, not just the majority. Now, I'm in the first round assigned to the front row. And remember when I said the spectators weren't really going to be an issue? That remains true. You can't hear anything that they're doing, and they can't get close to you. But right in the corner I was seated at, by the first row, there was an elevated viewing section, and that was very noticeable. And even though people are standing right there at the glass looking through like we're in an aquarium, you can't really focus on it. You have to be able to focus on what's happening directly in front of you. So the round starts and we are off. The 2026 Canadian Nationals have officially started. The first image of the weekend, it is a stock image, which is not surprising. That was what happened the previous year. And I did predict that would be the case in the prediction video. Go back and watch that if you haven't. That was also recorded with guests Devin Donaldson and Tess Brown, who were also in this first round. The puzzle is called Emerald Lake Evening at Yoho. It is this puzzle up here. Obviously, the yellow stands out straight away. The image is Canadian themed. We're off to a good start. Can't have a puzzling competition, apparently, without having some sort of mountain themed puzzle either, especially from out west. Well, actually, only from out west, because that's where the mountains are. There's multiple ways that you can approach this puzzle. And I think that's a good way to kind of start the competition. Some people started with the middle and kind of did the sunburst system out. Myself, I did start with the yellow and work my way in. Some people started with the bottom and worked their way up. It was there is something for everybody with this particular puzzle, which is a good selection then for a speed puzzle competition. And yeah, it was suitable for speed. And that's really what you want in speed puzzle competition. And we're really hoping that for the entire weekend, all the puzzles are suitable for speed puzzling. Now, the main issue that happened in the first round was not related to the puzzlers. So, good. But the issue did impact the viewers at home. The first live stream that's ever happened at a Canadian Nationals, did not work, so a little bit of a bumpy start there. Now, however, it was just the broadcast itself that didn't work, as in you couldn't watch it live on YouTube. But everything in the arena worked, so the hosts continued on as normal. The photographers, the videographers, they kept doing all their thing around. They did everything that they were supposed to be doing, and it was being recorded at the time. Good. And you can now view that entire first round on the YouTube channel. So it does exist now. not the best way to start the live stream, but you know what? Things happen. It's not the end of the world. And most importantly, it didn't impact the puzzlers themselves. And that is the priority. Yes, it's unfortunate you might not have been able to watch the live stream live at home. Um, it's fine. Also, full disclosure, I've not actually watched most of the live streams yet. I've seen clips here and there, but um, while I'm doing this video and catching up on a lot of stuff for this channel in particular, I am taking a much needed break from puzzle related things for a week or two before my focus shifts to the World Championships, which mostly means I'm just not putting puzzles together for a little bit. And like I said, a week or two. It'll probably just be a week. Anyways, from the little bits that I have heard from the live stream, as well as what I've heard from people that have actually watched it, overall, the weekend, the live stream content went very well. I can't comment too much on it, but again, from what I've heard, and especially this being the first time commentating for most, if not all, of the co-hosting team, I don't know who else would have done a live. No, that's not true. There has been a couple. There was the Invitational, and there was co-hosts for that. Uh, but for the majority of the people on the live stream, it was their first time doing this, especially over the course of an entire weekend. That's a lot to do. I think they all did great. Again, from what I've heard, from the very little that I've seen, yeah, great. Congratulations to the entire co-hosting team. First qualifier ends with Irina Shvchenko coming in at first place. She is a favorite to win the entire thing, so there's not really a surprise here. Tess Brown coming in second and Nicole Bertrand in third. Amazing times to kind of kick off the weekend. We're off to a great start. Oh yeah, the times. So for Irina finishing with a time of 39:54, sub 40 to kick off the weekend. Right away, we can tell this is going to be a highly competitive weekend, especially at the top of the competitor table. Tess second place with 44:22, and Nicole Bertrand 47:13 in third place for that first round. 3 sub 50s in total. We have 9, 10, 11 people, including the international people, which I'll talk about. 11 people that were sub 50 in that first round. It's going to be very, very competitive. When I'm referring to the placings for this video and I say first, second, third, that is only referring to the order the Canadians finished in, as they are the only ones that can end up on a podium. That's fair. Yeah. I'm going to talk about the international competitors now. I'm going to say my piece and then move on from it. They won't really be referenced for the remainder of the video. The focus for this is the Canadian nationals and the Canadian puzzlers. First, I have no issue with international competitors. I think including them is important for global growth and global viewership when it comes to these national events. If you have international people there, you're going to get more people from around the world tuning in to see what's going on. Yes. Should there be international competitors? Yes. International competitors were allowed at the Canadian Nationals for the first time this year. And this was after Canadian citizens and Canadian residents were given the opportunity to sign up first for an extended period of time before it was released to potential international puzzlers. In this case, it was probably too long of a wait to open it to international competitors. The vast majority, if not all, actually, I think came from the US. Obviously, that's a very easy trip up north. It would have been nice to see puzzlers from other countries, other continents show up. It is tough to schedule a trip to Canada without knowing if you're going to be able to participate or not participate, which is fair. Hopefully that changes in the future. I'll come back to that later. Even though international people were eligible to compete, they were not eligible for the podium, and I like that. That is perfectly acceptable, as this is the rule for most national competitions that allow international participants. There are some that still are not allowed. For instance, in the U.S., I believe the U.S. is one of the national competitions that do not let non-U.S. citizens or non-U.S. residents participate. And Canada did that up until this year as well. As you grow and get more space, you allow more people in. The U.S. just has a ton of people, so the spots are always going to be filled up by Americans or residents in America. So when the first round came to an end, the first individual qualifier came to an end, a big complaint from the competitors came up. And not specifically from those who the situation impacted directly, but from the general participation population. The top 10 finishers in each individual qualifier would be rewarded with a full table in the individual finals. For the record, I do not think that should be the case. I've already made that clear in other videos multiple times. Everyone should have the same puzzling circumstances in every round they participate in. And if you do ask many of the top puzzlers in the world, and some of them have been asked directly on this channel, they agree with that as well. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them, the top puzzlers, agree with this. So if someone in charge of this rule at this competition or any other competition that does this, the World Championships is coming up soon, and we see it in other competitions around the world, can you let us know exactly why a full table is given? We don't know. Now you could be saying, well, if you benefited from it, you might feel different. I did. I did benefit from it in 2025 and again in 2026. I had a full table in the individual finals 2 years in a row. I qualified in those positions. I am still against it. Someone asked me, well, then just go a little bit slower so you don't get the larger table, and then someone else who wants it can have it. Well, one, it's still an advantage, and I'm still competing. Competing comes first. If there's an advantage available, we'll take the advantage. I don't have to enjoy the advantage, but I will take the advantage. I will go for it. But more importantly, each round is still a competition. Again, I'm there to compete, but especially in the individual rounds, your placement and your times matter for rankings. And when it comes to for the national rankings, when it comes to other events in the future, invitationals, nationals next year, potential international events, those rankings can make a difference on if you're selected to participate in certain events or on certain teams. So I'm still going to do my absolute best in an individual qualifier because it has lasting impacts further down the road. But this rule still does exist, and because it exists, and it's a reward, that's what we'll call it. From my perspective, it's meant to showcase the top puzzlers going for the win in the final round. It can help with taking photos and taking videos. Isolating each one of those top 20 competitors in the final round will help with that. There's no chance of impact from or disruption from a table partner, so I can see the benefits to it. But the international participants cannot win a podium spot. They don't need to be showcased. 4 of the top 10 spots in Qualifier A, individual Qualifier A, went to international competitors. 2 of the 10 spots in the qualifier, in second qualifier, went to international competitors. 30% of the full tables in the final round, the individual final, will not have a Canadian at them. So in my opinion, this is probably the most egregious error of the weekend, and it was 100% in control of the organizers. How you don't arrange for the top 20 fastest Canadians from the qualifiers to be at those first 20 tables, it's baffling to me. It's extra work. No, it isn't. It could complicate things. No, it can't. It wouldn't be fair. Yes, it would. The international people might not come back. Yes, they will. I would not be surprised if an adjustment's made to this rule next year. Either it's wiped out completely, that would be ideal, or they specifically don't put international people in those front tables at that time. Or they don't change it, I don't know. Anyways, individual qualifier number 1 is over, and we're on to the second one. Oh, and at the start of each of the individual qualifiers, each participant was provided a gift of a small 99-piece puzzle at our tables. Very generous. Thank you to whoever was responsible for that. The countdown for round 2 starts. The puzzlers have their puzzles. That is an important and shockingly a topic that will come up for day 2. The live stream is working great, and the competition starts. Except for the timer. The timer doesn't start. The main timer in the room, the big clock, all the timekeepers and spotters use to write down finishing times, it has not started. But you can't really stop the puzzlers from going. The puzzle's been released, bags are open, ripped, thrown off to the sides, pieces have been flipped. Some have probably been put together at this point. Kind of got to think on the fly here. But you know what? Things do happen. The big timer eventually does start, but it's starting from 0, so this is obviously not correct. The time is not going to be correct. The big clock is behind what's the real time is. Now the live stream is showing the correct time, which means that we can add on however much time is needed into the final results afterwards. Just look at the time difference, add on however much time is different, and done. Easy. Great. We'll come back to that. Now the image for this round is another stock image, which again, that's normal, kind of what most of us expected to happen. This time featuring a location in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. One of the smallest of the Canadian provinces, but one of the nicest ones. Nice, bright, colorful image up there. This isn't my style, but the puzzlers are flying through this round. The first finisher is Caitlin McGregor from British Columbia, also an Australian, but is competing as a Canadian since she is a current resident of the country. Absolutely no issue with that. Second place goes to Megan Sloka, our back-to-back champion. This is the first time Megan has not won a round at any of the 3 nationals that she's participated in. Will this rattle her going into the final? Spoiler, no it does not. And third place goes to Andrea Tremblay. Back to the timer. On the official results page, Caitlin's winning time is written down as 33 minutes and 9 seconds. On the live stream, the final piece is placed by her at 34:11. Let's watch.
Pieces. Come on, go, push,
Come on,
push.
let's go.
You got it, you got it, you got it. Good for you. Oh, missing. No, got it.
There we are. There's our first finisher.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a 1 minute and 2 second difference. Megan's finishing time on the results page is 35 minutes and 4 seconds. On the live stream, it is at 36 minutes and 7 seconds. Let's just watch that.
Having the next one. And she's not even looking at it.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, there we are.
That's a difference of 1 minute, 3 seconds. It's about the same. There's always going to be some slight differences depending on when the clock ticks over, when that second ticks over, when the spotter's eyes go from watching the last piece go in to when they look up to look at the clock. That's not the issue. Because that also happens like in virtual competitions when you're doing your own timer. You might put that last piece in at, say, 35 minutes and 4 seconds. By the time you reach over to stop the clock, it's ticked over to that 5th second. That's always going to be a part of speed puzzling. So everyone's time was about 1 minute and 2 seconds or 1 minute and 3 seconds slower than the results page. So adding that time to everyone will still keep the standings the same. So why does it matter? Just keep the times as they are. The rankings is where it matters. The rankings are unrelated at this point to this year's nationals, but it could impact next year's nationals. It can impact, as I mentioned already, it can impact invitationals. It can impact other potential national or international events. If this Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association system is not accurate, it's going to have impacts. And some people really focus on those rankings, and 1 point here or there can make a difference in a few spots, and people care about watching their progress. Now I've said in previous videos that I already have concerns with the ranking system. I track the updates month to month as they are released, and I do have questions, but that's not what this video is about. Part of the rankings, from my understanding, is based on your finishing time, how far you are behind the winner, puzzle difficulty, however that's measured, and other factors. Making the average finishing time for this puzzle 1 minute and 2 seconds longer or slower increases the difficulty, even slightly. It increases the difficulty perception of this puzzle. It also decreases the percentage of time you finish behind the winner. If the winner took 1 minute to finish the puzzle and it took second place 2 minutes, that's 100% slower. If it took the winner 5 minutes to finish a puzzle and second place 6 minutes, that's only 20% slower than. So it does make a difference in terms of percentage how far behind that the winner you will be as the times get longer. At the time of this recording, which is about 5 days after the event this round has taken place, the times have not been set, not been fixed, and a new rankings have come out based on the Canadian Nationals. They're wrong. It's because that result is not correct. They're wrong. Again, is it extra work to do this? Not really, and I'll prove it on here. I'll do the most basic spreadsheet adjustment now. Here are the results from round 2. I'm going to add a column. I'm going to name it. Enter a time adjustment formula. Apply to all. Problem solved. Anyways, on to the next round. We now move on to the pairs qualifiers, which makes sense. Give some rest for the individual competitors before the finals. No issues with that. The first pairs qualifier is about to start. We have gifts in the pairs rounds too, apparently. And we all received a new box top holder. Again, a nice gift. I'd recommend a voucher to collect one if you wanted one afterwards, but I guess this would be easier to do. Okay, the pairs round starts and we have our first artist designed puzzle of the day. Puzzle is called Coastal Charms by Louise Marion, and it features a scene from the province of Newfoundland. So we're covering, that's 3 puzzles in a row, 3 different locations across the country. I'm loving this. This also might be my favorite 500-piece puzzle of the weekend. Perhaps my favorite puzzle overall of the weekend. I really enjoyed this image. This is what I want to see at puzzle competitions. I wish this would have been in the individual rounds, potentially as the individual final. Even a qualifier would have been fine, just so I would have had an authentic first attempt try at this. But alas, it is a pairs qualifier. As far as I know, there were no issues in this round with regards to the live streams or timers or puzzlers or anything, so we're doing well. The room is getting a bit warm at this point, but I've already talked about that. Nothing exciting happens outside of the puzzling, which is how it should be, and really these recap videos should be about 5 to 10 minutes long. The winners of the pairs qualifier, the first one is Andrea and Sophie with a time of 28:53. Second place is Katie and Devin, and in third place we have Tess and Liam. Pairs qualifier 1 is done. On to number 2. Oh, no, it's the individual final for some unknown reason. And why?
It's because that's why.
The hardest puzzle of the day makes its appearance. And to no one's surprise, at least not to mine, because I did predict this, we get an image from Ciro Marchetti called Tortoise and the Tree. This looked daunting from the start, and you know what, why not include a few flowers in there too, because of course. Now it is an improvement on last year's final puzzle, Walk in the Rain. And you can work through this section by section, like Walk in the Rain. It's important to just focus on certain areas with this puzzle. It can be overwhelming for sure. The vast majority of the people that I spoke to did say it started off very overwhelming, but once you do start focusing on certain sections, just doing it little by little, you move through it at a pretty good pace. But things seem to go smoothly for another round, and with a time of 40 minutes and 23 seconds, Megan Sloka becomes the first ever 3-time national champion anywhere in the world, as far as I could find. Outstanding. That means of the 4 national championships that Canada has held, Megan has won 75% of them. That is amazing. Like, massive congratulations to Megan Sloka, and hopefully we will be hearing from her on this channel in the near future. And just 13 seconds later, in second place with a time of 40 minutes and 36 seconds, we have Irina Shvchenko, and finishing in third place with a time of 43 minutes and 21 seconds is Caitlin McGregor. And rounding out the top 5 in the country, in fourth place is Amelie Therian, and in fifth place we have Katie Duluth-Sicard. And as a side note, all 5 of those puzzlers finished before any of the international participants did, which I am super happy about. So there is zero doubt that these were the best 5 in the round. And all that is left to finish the day is the second pairs qualifier. Why?
It's because that's why.
The round begins, and there are timer issues again. This time, though, there is an 18-minute difference between the big clock and the actual time that it's taking to put the puzzles together. Not sure why we're having timer issues, but 18 minutes, that's big. But what is funny is the times are correct on the results page for this one. I guess they would have to, or it would look like the first finishers only took 7 minutes to finish the puzzle, and that's not true. But if this one could be fixed, why not the other?
It's because that's why.
In fact, essentially the same formula I used in the example that I showed earlier is used on the results page. I did not know that when I was writing out this before. Anyways, the puzzle for this round is called Cactus Collection. That's not it. That's not it. There we go. All unreleased puzzles, eh? Maybe by Ravensburger. Technically, this image is by the artist Andrew Farley and is called Cactus Collection, but it was obviously not made for this specific competition, as these other puzzles were released years ago. I was sent this image from somebody after the recording was already done. I'm not going to do another video, but the image isn't even fully unique to Ravensburger. That's the same yellow bowl. It's the same. And this is essentially a stock image. Disappointed by Ravensburger on this one. Yeah. The people who were not puzzling in this round were able to find this image within minutes of this round starting. Does no one at Ravensburger know how to do a Google image search? This would also begin the streak of questionable puzzle choices at the Canadian Nationals. Yes, the team rounds are coming up. And yes, I will talk about how decisions are potentially made. But this was kind of discouraging to end the day on from an image release perspective. From a puzzling perspective, fine. It's a pairs qualifier. It's not the end of the world. If this was a final, this would be a very different conversation. But they said unreleased. We expect new images for this specific competition. As for the puzzlers themselves, because they're still going, in first place we have Riley and their partner, the president of the CJPA, Amanda, with a time of 30 minutes and 10 seconds. In second place, we had Megan Sloka and Caitlin Albert, and third place, Cameron and Liam Bennett, all finishing within 27 seconds of each other. I will say that overall, the difficulty level in puzzles in the individual qualifiers, comparing those two with each other, and the 2 pairs qualifiers, comparing those 2 puzzles with each other, were very similar. So the puzzle choices from that perspective, very well done. And I hope that continues into we all hope it continues into day 2, and that the teams qualifiers are equally as at the same difficulty level between the two of them. They did, not in the way we would have liked, but with the second pairs qualifier complete, day 1 comes to an end. We have our national champion decided with Megan Sloka, and now we wait for day 2 to find out who our pairs champions and teams champions will be. And I'm not doing a part 2 to a video. This is all being done in one. It's going to be long, but here we go. Day 2 kicks off early with a Teams Qualifier at 8 a.m. Can I also just say how amazing the weather was this weekend? I get that that's not in control of the CJPA or Ravensburger, but having nationals at the end of May instead of at the start, massive difference. The last few years we've had cloudy, rainy, dreary weather. This was a great weekend. Let's continue this into 2027. Anyways, it's 8 a.m. and we are ready to go. We still have 3 possible artists left that we could get a puzzle from, and 4 total rounds. So there's also still the possibility of an artist that could be used twice. Even from day 1, we really have no idea how this could go. I'm in the first team qualifiers. Love that early morning start. And we have more gifts on the table. This time it's sorting trays. Not permanent sorting trays, but nice laminated sorting trays. Honestly, I think this was the best gift of the weekend, and there's no sarcasm here with this at all. I think they were great to have on the table. I'm not the only person who thinks this either. I don't know if we got to keep them. I know I didn't keep them. I don't know if anyone on my team kept the trays, so they could be reused for other rounds or in the future. We had our own trays already anyways, but it was nice if they were included. The CJPA put their little logo on them as well, but not in a way that's going to distract from the pieces. Very well thought out. Whoever came with that idea, great, love it. The round starts and this monstrosity is revealed. This is Winter Arena by Bill Brownridge. I always want to be clear about something. The art itself is lovely. I love the image. As a Canadian who plays hockey, enjoys winter, everything about this it brings back childhood. I love it. As art, love it. Not all art is appropriate for a puzzle, let alone specific to a speed puzzle. The image itself was also not specifically designed for this competition. Bill passed away on May 1st of 2024, 2 days before the 2024 Canadian Nationals even took place. And I can say with a pretty high level of confidence that no one was asking him to paint an image for the 2026 Canadian Nationals back then. So there wasn't really a rush to get this image selected. Looking through his website, here are other images that could have been selected that still would have been a challenge, but more appropriate for a 1,000-piece team puzzle, and didn't want all of us to consider quitting speed puzzling at some point during this mini marathon we were thrown into. Like this one, or 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 this one. Again, this was a horrific image for a teams round, especially a qualifier. The teams qualifiers are probably the most sociable and more relaxed of all the events over the course of the weekend. More families register in this round. Some people want to try out speed puzzling for the first time, and they're there with a team to kind of see how it goes, and just kind of support each other at the tables. But with a time limit of 2 hours and 15 minutes, you would expect at least 70% of the teams to finish, preferably closer to 80 or 90% of the teams in a qualifier. Of the 74 teams that participated in the first teams qualifier, just 12 completed the puzzle. 12. That is just over 16% of the teams. My team, Heated Puzzlery, finished 9th. We took 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 14 seconds to finish the puzzle. Well, maybe we're just not that fast. Yeah, maybe. That's not right. In preparing for nationals, my team completed, I'm going to read this to make sure I get it right. In preparing for nationals, my team completed 21 puzzles. with an average time of 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 34 seconds, with the longest time for a puzzle being 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 18 seconds, which was a puzzle that we did together on our second day of practicing. Second time ever puzzling together. This means this puzzle took almost an hour longer than our average time, almost 30 minutes longer than our worst puzzle leading up to nationals. And it wasn't as though we were doing super easy puzzles leading up to it. We were doing a range of puzzles, but we included some difficult ones in there because we thought, hey, we're probably going to get a tough puzzle at nationals. We even did a puzzle from Bill Brownridge in advance as well. I can tell you it didn't take us the longest of the practice puzzles. It certainly didn't take us over 2 hours. 62 teams in this first qualifier had to go to a piece count because the top 40 qualified for the finals, even if you don't finish the puzzle. So we have to count 62 teams worth of puzzle pieces. We don't have that many spotters, so they were asking the participants on the teams that already finished to now become spotters and counters to go and help the other teams count these pieces, because it wasn't as though there was just a few pieces left over. As I said, 12 teams finished. The 13th place team had over 100 pieces still left to place. Some teams had 500, 600, 700 pieces still on the table. This was a ridiculously hard puzzle. So again, 62 teams left. That's 62 potential 1,000 pieces, 62,000 potential pieces that could have been assembled across all these teams. Just 38,395 of those pieces were placed. That's less than 62% of the pieces. Now, the 40th place team to qualify for the finals finished by placing just 669 pieces. I say just, but again, it's a hard puzzle. Well done. It's still 669 pieces that you put into this horror show. But what might be the most frustrating moment of the weekend for a specific individual or pair or team is the 41st place team in this qualifier. They missed moving on to the finals by 1 piece. The 40th place team had 669 pieces placed. 41st had 668 pieces placed. That's a counting error. It just is. To the 41st place team, broken pieces, I empathize with the frustration that comes from one single piece being the difference. I really, really do. In my opinion, in this specific case, the team should have been put through anyways. No one was counting those pieces individually. They're in groups of 10. There was table space in the finals as well. There was not 80 teams that sat down at those tables. 3 teams did not attend the finals even though they had qualified. I really hope the 41st place team, I really hope Broken Pieces were asked if they wanted a spot in the final and turned it down or were not able to attend. When it comes to counting hundreds, thousands of pieces, there's going to be errors for sure. 1 piece difference, yeah. How many people, when they're just flipping over a 500-piece puzzle, gets every single one of the 86 edge pieces out every single time? No, you always miss one. There's always an error every time. But there shouldn't have been that much counting anyways, because the right puzzles should have been chosen in the first place. So before we move on to the second Teams Qualifier, let's talk about puzzle choices. From the various sources who have passed along information to me, it is Ravensburger that determines the images and which rounds they will appear in. Very little input, from what I have been told, very little input comes from the people organizing the event. So in this case, the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association. That would place the entire focus onto Ravensburger for this debacle. I love the word debacle. Now, I have received some mixed messages as well, so I can't confirm either way. That image options are sometimes given out in advance to the organizers of the competition, and they can narrow them down. But again, can't confirm that was the case in this particular competition. During the round with Winter Arena, as well as after, quite a few people did mention that this should have been a finals puzzle, and I 100% disagree with that. This would be a horrible way to end the weekend. Almost no one left that qualifier feeling good. We still had the top three teams. In first place, with a time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 42 seconds, were the Canadian Wolfbirds. Second place at 1:31:30 was Les Quatre Coins, and third place at 1:37:47 was BARP and TPC. BARP. Only two more Canadian teams would be under the 2 hour mark, and one international team as well. If this were the finals, so if this were a finals puzzle, that would just be 6 teams that would have finished this puzzle, as the final is 2 hours and not 2 hours and 15 minutes. This is not a speed puzzle. It's just not. Again, the art's very nice. Just leave it off puzzles. But with that round over, all eyes now turn to Teams Qualifier 2, and what will the puzzle be for that? There were two perspectives you could have had going into the second Teams Qualifier. The first perspective is from the teams that have just finished the first qualifier, hoping that there's going to be some sort of balance in the universe, and the second round puzzle will be equally as challenging. Maybe even a bit worse. Because they got to sleep in for an extra 2 hours that morning. So, you know what? Now, there might have been some empathetic people that were not hoping for that, but I was not one of them in that moment. Equality when it comes to suffering for everybody at the event. The other perspective came from the teams that had just witnessed that 135 minutes of torture, and were hoping it wasn't going to be as bad for them. But what will happen? Will we have another Bill Brownridge? Because we could have a double artist. Will it be one of the remaining 2 artists that we haven't seen yet? Will it be a random stock image? Surely not. The round starts since the stock image. Like, is Ravensburger just having a laugh at this point? Like, it's a stock image of Athabasca Falls. At least 2 Teams Qualifiers. We're back to a Canadian theme, I guess. Silver lining here. Winter hockey and national parks. More out west, because, again, personally, when I saw this image, I was not happy at all. There were some choice words. I apologize to anyone who might have heard me. When looking at this image, there's at least a clear starting point. More than what could be said for the previous round. Whoever was lucky enough on each team to get the water must have been laughing. And at the very least, between the border and the water, at least, 30% of the puzzle is done. Again, not the case for that first round. It's very frustrating. I can feel the forehead just... I'm gonna get wrinkles just from puzzle stuff. That's not good. Now, it's important to remind ourselves that Ravensburger box images rarely reflect the puzzle image 100%. In the sense that if there's a bit of darkness on the puzzle, it's on the puzzle image, it's going to be definitely darker on the puzzle itself. From a spectator perspective, this puzzle looked much easier. But as time ticked away, it became clear that it wasn't going to be easier by much. First place went to Piece by Piece, last year's champions, with a time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 13 seconds, which is 10 minutes faster than round 1. But it's still a very long time for a Teams Qualifier. Second place was Beavers in Pants with a time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 17 seconds. And in third place with a time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 19 seconds was Hocus Puzzlers. Just 18 teams will finish this puzzle in the 2 hour and 15 minute time limit out of 77 teams. That's less than 25%. An improvement from the first round, but still not good. So even though this image did look easier, it wasn't by a lot. In total, through the 2 Teams Qualifiers, just under 20% of the teams finished their puzzle. That's embarrassing for the event. And it's discouraging for the competitors, especially those who might be new to the sport or who are just there with their family, just trying to get through a puzzle. Yeah, if you have younger kids there, say they're 5 or 8 or 10 or whatever, you want to show that you've finished a good chunk of the puzzle. Yeah, you might not finish the whole thing, but if it still looks like barely anything's happened, it doesn't feel... You don't get the same satisfaction from showing up and participating in the event. Whoever decided on those two images in particular should be disappointed. We are. As a side note, I am currently looking for a new job, so if Ravensburger would like to hire, I don't know, a speed puzzle consultant, my schedule is open. I'm serious. The good news is that we just have 2 rounds left, the pairs finals and the teams finals. And we have just 2 artists left, so at least we know we won't be getting a second Bill Brownridge puzzle. Again, the art is great. I would hang a few of these pieces up. I just wouldn't try to assemble the art if it accidentally got shredded. We are all now seated and ready to start the pairs final round. The instructions have been given. We know it's a 1,000-piece puzzle, which is one of my favorite things about Canadian Nationals. It's the only Nationals in the world that has a 1,000-piece puzzle for the pairs final. But we are set. The countdown starts. But the issue that's pretty important is that there are no puzzles on the table. That's pretty significant in a puzzle competition. Let's just relive this moment. I'm sorry, Mina, but I do have to show this. It's fine.
All right. Are we ready? Are we ready with the timer? All right. In 5. Oh, what? Huh? Can we hand out the puzzles, please? It's been a long weekend if you haven't picked up. Let's hand out the puzzles.
It's fine. The puzzle is revealed, and it is Cozy Ski Chalet by Dave Mitchison. His art is all over the place when you're trying to see what he's done in the past, so there was no real way to predict what we could have seen, but he has done some art for puzzles and similar cozy themed puzzles, so this was really one of the best outcomes we could have had. After we had our puzzles, everything went smoothly for this round. With a time of 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 11 seconds, Caitlin Albert and Megan Slocum win the pairs event. They are the national champions in pairs. Congratulations to the both of them. It's also Megan's second gold of the weekend, putting her in the rare position to pull off a triple victory with the team's finals still to come. But yeah, again, congratulations to both Caitlin and Megan, who I am thrilled for because they are also on my Worlds team in September. Second place went to Katie and Devin with a time of 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 52 seconds. And in third place at exactly 1 hour and 11 minutes was Andrea and Sophie. Out of the 93 pairs who competed in the final, 92 of them definitely finished under the time limit. The other team doesn't have an official results, so it could just be 92 teams that participated. 92 pairs finished, 92 team pairs participated. That's how it's supposed to look. And to wrap up the weekend, we have the team's final. We know for sure at this point the artist will be Dean McAdam, who has spent a number of hours over the weekend signing puzzles, talking with puzzlers, taking photos. It was great to have him there. He's definitely one of the most well-known artists in the puzzle world. Yeah, it was expected, I think, that his puzzle was going to show up in the team's final. I still thought it would have been the pairs final, but we know it's going to be the team's final. The question now is, will the puzzle be part of his fairy tale series that he has, or will it be closer to the chaos puzzles of Busy Birdies or Ocean Lounge? We are all set at our tables. We have our puzzles this time. And now it's just the reveal. I'm going to show the reveal video that Dean McAdam took himself. Why? Well, because it was my team, Heated Puzzlery, who featured in the reveal. And before I show that, just well done to my team personally and my team members. From left to right, we have Rachel Hamilton, who is also my pairs partner at Nationals this year. We finished as the 11th best pair in the country. We have Sam Chomick, who will be my pairs partner at the World Championships this year, as well as on my Worlds team alongside Megan Slocum and Caitlin Albert. That is myself, of course, and Allison Brown. So, what was the puzzle? Here we go.
3, 2, 1, puzzle!
is part of the fairy tale series. It is called Pinocchio's Perils. It's a busy image with maybe the most challenging border in the entire fairy tale series, but overall the puzzle is very fun. It is certainly my favorite 1,000-piece puzzle of the weekend. I can't wait to do it on my own, especially because I feel I didn't do much of the puzzle based on the sections I was responsible for, but I'm definitely looking forward to doing this one again on my own. And with an incredible time of 47 minutes and 2 seconds, Les Quatre Coins take first place. Second place is Beavers in Pants, and third place, Canadian Wolfbirds. And that brings the 2026 Canadian Nationals to a close. Despite some hiccups along the way, overall the weekend was a success, in my opinion. The puzzle choice blame for certain rounds is going to be passed around, but there is always hope that who's ever involved in making the choices learns for next year. Learns for next time. This applies to every competition, by the way. Yes, I'm talking about Canadian Nationals, but learn from this so Dutch Nationals are coming up soon. Obviously, the puzzles have been chosen, but they should have good ones. The main one for Ravensburger, the big one coming up, World Championships in September. We're still 3 months away, just over 100 days at the time of this recording. Plenty of time to make sure you get the right puzzles on the table, especially for the unreleased rounds. No, even for the repeat rounds, for the qualifier rounds, still have good puzzles. No more postcards. From the Canadian Nationals, I am quite confident in saying that more people walked away happy than those who didn't. To anyone who might have felt discouraged at their results, that's okay, and a perfectly acceptable reaction. But at the end of the day, we're just putting puzzles together. If you're wondering if it's going to be worth it to come back for 2027, I can tell you it is. I am in no way associated with the CJPA and do not personally benefit from anyone attending or not. But each year I have enjoyed the Canadian Nationals even more and would recommend attending again to anyone, especially if this was your first time. And if you weren't able to attend or you've never attended in the past and you're wondering if you should, yeah, you should. Do it at least once and see how it goes from there. Only one person can win. If you're going in with the goal of winning, that might be setting yourself up a bit, but that's not my goal. I can tell you that. Go in 2027. Looking ahead to 2027, I would like to see a schedule change where the individual final takes place, not in the middle of pairs qualifiers. Again, unless there's a very good reason for it, and there are hundreds of us that are waiting to hear what that reason is. I would also like the awards to be handed out sooner, instead of all at the end. I understand having the closing ceremonies, ending it with that. I definitely understand that, and it makes the most sense. Absolutely, it does. It would be weird not to do it like that. But the attendance for the awards is always so low. It takes place late on a Sunday evening. A lot of people leave. They want to go home. The person that won the raffle, I feel so sorry for that person who won that the 6 portals puzzle, because they had left. There's a lot of people aren't staying at the awards ceremony if they're not personally invested in it in some sort of way. Having the awards given immediately after each final, to me, makes the most sense. I hope in 2027 it stays in the arena. I hope it's in the exact same location, and near the end of May. I'm really hoping there's not going to be an overlap with the World Series next year, because I know which one I'll be picking, and it won't be Nationals. So if both of those competitions can kind of sort their days out soon, that would be lovely. I would like to see the international option open up sooner for international competitors, so we can get more people from Europe or South America or Asia, Australia, wherever, coming in, if they have enough time to book in advance. If that means opening up the options to the Canadian citizens and residents earlier, great, fine. Once the competition dates are set, let's go. Let's get people signing up. Was Nationals perfect? No. Is any competition or event perfect? No. Was it worth it? Yes, that is it for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Canadian Nationals in the comments below. Again, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss some of the exciting stuff that's coming back on this channel or coming up on this channel. There's a lot of Champions Corner episodes coming up. I'll be finishing off my World Series recaps. There's some special guest appearances for those as well. The return of Puzzled and Chatty episodes will be coming back very soon, including a 1-year special anniversary episode of the first Puzzled and Chatty that took place in July of 2025. Speed Puzzling 101 lessons are coming back, and there's more puzzle reviews, just a bunch of stuff that will be taking place back on this channel. Yeah, until next time, as always, happy puzzling. Bye.